Banks and banks of humming machinery. I've never seen so many knobs. We're gonna have to do something, Charlie. Try pushing that button now. No? How about that one? No, not that one either. I know. I'll try pushing this one. Hold my hat, would you? There's a good fella.
What do you mean, biblical?
What he means is Old Testament, Mr. Mayor. Real wrath of God type stuff.
Exactly.
Fire and brimstone coming down from the skies. Rivers and seas boiling.
40 years of darkness, earthquakes, volcanoes.
The dead rising from the grave.
Human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria.
And whatever comes our way.
You've lost, Batman. Robin is mine. The last sound you hear will be our laughter.
I don't know who you are or where you came from. From now on, you do as I tell you, okay?
Look, your worshipfulness, let's get one thing straight. I take orders from just one person, me.
So one day you're still alive.
Born to be wild.
That, my friends, is how we do it. And I'd say it's a gift from God, but that would be giving the man upstairs a little too much credit. This is all me, baby.
World of Stew presents Stew and Dave's Megasonic Supertastic Geekerific Show.
Everything, it seemed, was all right.
Hello and welcome to Stu and Dave's Megasonic Supertastic Geekerific Show. Now, it's been an absolute age since we did one of these because time and tide wait for no man and we've both got busy lives and all the rest of it. But we're not doing a traditional Stu and Dave's Megasonic Supertastic Geekerific Show today. What we're doing is something a little different, but we'll get to that in a second. First, it's up to me to present my co-host. He's the Korg to my Meek. It's Dave.
Yeah, and of course a reference there to, people will only understand that if they've been to see what is possibly the greatest film of the year so far.
Well, that you've offered up your opinion there, so obviously we know where you're going to come from. I'm coming from somewhere slightly different, but we will get to that. So we're not doing a traditional show, Dave, because on our YouTube, which you probably haven't noticed this, but I've renamed the YouTube channel now, so it's no longer World of Stew. It's now Stu and Dave's Channel of Geekitude.
Channel of Geekitude, oh, I like that.
So, yeah, on our channel, you can find all our old shows and stuff on there. You'll also find a few short 6 or 7 minutes, well, sometimes it went on a bit longer, sort of 20 minutes, videos of me doing reviews of certain movies that are out and sharing my feelings on them. But this movie, Dave, in particular, I couldn't do that because I needed to discuss this film with a like-minded soul. And there's only one like-minded soul that I needed to discuss it with, and that was you.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
The film in question, of course, is...
I think that's fair enough.
Yeah, sorry. The film in question is, of course, Dave...
The one big question.
No, what's the film in question?
The film in question is, of course, Thor Ragnarok.
Right.
Now, there wasn't in my household whether it was Thor Ragnarok or Thor Ragnarok.
I would say Ragnarok.
But I'm assured after... Yeah, it's definitely Ragnarok. We researched how to say it on various Scandinavian websites as well, and it's Ragnarok. It's got to be.
Okay. Now, bit of sort of precursor to the actual review of this film. Anyone who hasn't listened to any of our shows before or who hasn't read any of the reviews that we've put on our World of Stew Facebook page may not know, but we are both comic book guys, right?
Absolutely. We're both huge comic book guys, really.
Right. And we're both kind of in agreement that when it comes to the modern era of superhero films, the MCU, so Marvel / Disney, kind of kick the ass of DC and Warner Brothers, right?
Absolutely. Not to say that DC aren't going to get there eventually. You know, they might do. But at the moment, Marvel, let's face it, they're winning financially and they're winning in quality as well.
Because pretty much everything after the Chris Nolan Dark Knight trilogy from DC, as they launched their DC EU, has been pretty dire. We had Man of Steel, Batman vs Superman, and Suicide Squad. Oh, and Wonder Woman, which was slightly better, but I still wasn't a fan.
Yeah, likewise. It was a decent film, but if it was a Marvel, if it was an MCU film, we'd still only be saying it was okay. Let's be honest.
Right. So, from my personal take, and I know that you are slightly different, and there is a reason why we're covering this briefly before we get to Thor Ragnarok, is that I have got, before Thor came out, I had got to almost my breaking point with superhero films. So if we go back to the last 5 superhero films that have been out, or last 6 superhero films that have been out, we had Spider-Man Homecoming, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, Doctor Strange, Suicide Squad, and Batman vs Superman. So taking those in order, obviously Batman vs Superman was the drizzling shits, correct?
Absolutely, it was just it was just such a mess. It had huge problems. But can I just say there as well, despite its huge problems, Batman was good in that film. Yeah, I think we can both agree that. It was a big mess, but it had its good points.
Right, I agree with that. Suicide Squad was better than Batman vs Superman, but you could tell where they'd had problems with the changing of directors.
Yeah, absolutely. The changing of directors, studio interventions. It was just a big mess.
Then we go to Doctor Strange, which was obviously from Marvel, not DC. It's okay, but was probably at that point my least favourite MCU film since Iron Man 3.
Yeah, likewise. I'd probably say, yeah, it's one of those films that I looked at and said I really enjoyed it, but I can see how it's not going to be for everyone, I think.
To me, it just felt like Marvel does Inception.
Yeah, I think I'd go with you there. I think I would have preferred a darker take on the Doctor Strange world, have Nightmare as a bad guy, or have some really spooky monsters, but it wasn't quite dark enough.
Following on from Doctor Strange, we had, I'm not sure which order these two came out in, I think Spider-Man Homecoming was before Guardians?
I think it might have been just before it. Yeah, I think you're right.
Okay, so Spider-Man Homecoming, again, was okay, but I still prefer the first 2 Sam Raimi Spider-Man films.
Yeah, I could kind of go either way on these. I loved Spider-Man Homecoming. I thought it was amazing. I thought it felt like a bit of a breath of fresh air, But then, Spider-Man films, I think the action, the direction is right up there with the best of the films. It's Sam Raimi, it's going to be. But I think the Peter Parker himself has aged. You notice these nowadays when you watch it, you're just like, oh, Tobey Maguire, just get off the screen and stop crying. It's just, yeah, I think he himself has aged. I just love the new Spider-Man. I forget his name at the moment. The young kid. I just think he's great.
Tom Holland.
Tom Holland, that's him. Great actor.
The reason why I didn't like that film was because of his Iron Man Spider-Man suit and the whole she's not really Mary Jane, oh yes she bloody is.
Yeah, but let's be honest, we've had 5 movies of Mary Jane, Gwen Stacy, Mary Jane, Gwen Stacy, and it's like, oh, does it have to be really about the love story? I'd happily see another Spider-Man movie without any real love story.
Oh yeah, I agree with you. So there was absolutely no reason to chuck in at the end of that film, you can call me MJ.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that. And whether that gets taken forward to the next movie or not, I don't really care.
Right. And finally, we had Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, which again, you loved, and I wasn't particularly a fan of.
Again, I loved it, but I can see how a lot of people would look at it and think there was too much humour, it was just too funny, and the characters have gone even more extreme, to be more extreme versions of themselves. So, but again, it's much more of a kids' movie than a lot of the other Marvel films. So, you know, I enjoyed it for what it is.
So the point of all this was that, for my personal take, was I was tired of superhero films. And then the first, I think it was the teaser trailer that came out for Thor, you know, the one with the original "We know each other, he's a friend from work" line. Was that a teaser or was that a full trailer?
I think that was a teaser to start off with.
Yeah. So that teaser came out, and I almost wet my pants, Dave, because I watched that and I went, "Oh my God, this trailer is the greatest thing I've ever seen in my entire life in terms of superhero films." So
It is. It's a great trailer. I mean, you and me argued, didn't we? Well, which was better? Was it that trailer or was it the Logan trailer with the Johnny Cash music? But I think partially it's the music that makes that trailer as well. The Led Zeppelin,
the Immigrant song. Yeah.
The Immigrant song is just awesome in that trailer.
Yeah. So I was really, really, really geared up for Thor Ragnarok because I had put all my eggs into the Ragnarok basket in the hope that it was going to rejuvenate my love for superhero films. So that was where my mindset was going into it. Obviously, you weren't as negative about superhero films, so going into Thor Ragnarok, what were you expecting?
Do you know what? The thing is, I watched the teaser trailer like 2 or 3 times. I watched a proper trailer a few times. But after that, I know there are a lot of TV spots. There are a lot of interviews with directors, interviews with Chris Hemsworth and Mark Ruffalo, and I was just thinking, okay, I'm going to try and ignore that stuff. I kind of read that we got from the trailers that it was going to be a very 70s sci-fi gist to it, and the creators have said, yeah, we're going for a whole Jack Kirby vibe as well. So I was just thinking, okay, this looks like it's going to be different. And it looks like it's going to have more humour again than we expect, maybe a bit more humour than we were used to in the first 2 films. But I was going in with a positive kind of, I'm going to enjoy this. I'm going to enjoy it.
Okay, all of which leads us to Thor Ragnarok. So the film opens with Thor in a sort of cage, and I'm guessing he's in hell, right?
Yeah, I think I forget the name of all the different realms you get in the Thor comics, but you could be, you could say it's hell or it's a planet. It's the big bad guy. His name's Surtur, isn't he? He's the leader of a race of fire people, whatever you want to call them.
Yeah, so he's been held captive by Surtur. Now, this is the part in the trailer at the beginning of that teaser trailer where you're looking at Thor in chains and you're thinking, ooh, put Thor in those chains, but obviously turns out it isn't, it's this Surtur. So we then get a bit of preamble between Surtur and Thor, and then we get our first big fight scene, and Thor basically kicks the ass of everyone, and he kills Surtur, all the while the Immigrant song is playing underneath.
Yeah, and I thought this was actually a really kick-ass start to a film. You get a little bit of a fight scene, you get some really good graphics with the hammer just going around smashing everyone. You know, I love this bit, seriously. And it's kind of what I've got used to in a lot of Marvel films and even Star Wars, where you think from a trailer that you've seen something really important and a key scene. And actually, you haven't. You've just seen a fairly unimportant early scene in the film. Right.
Now, though, Dave, while this fight scene is carrying on, he is trying to communicate with Heimdall, who, of course, is Idris Elba's character, who controls the Bifrost, which is, for anyone who doesn't know, the way that Asgardians can travel between the different 9 realms. But Heimdall's not there because, obviously, as we know from the previous Thor films, Loki has usurped Odin, and he is masquerading as Odin, right?
Well, that's right. Surtur says, doesn't he? Surtur kind of has a little line, doesn't he, where he says, "Oh, Odin isn't in Asgard," which, of course, if you've seen the second film, you know already. But in all honesty, I thought this was going to be a bigger plot point that went on longer, but it didn't, did it? It was just kind of quite dealt with quite quickly.
Yeah. So the point I want to get to here is, and this was the first moment when You know when you watch a film and something happens and you just like go, you either think, oh my god, that's amazing, or you think this film's going to be shite, right?
Yeah,
And
I agree with you there.
yeah, so what happened is obviously Scourge, who is controlling the Bifrost and is played by Carl Urban. He's there and he's trying to impress these Asgardian ladies, and he's got all this stuff that he's taken from Earth and the other 9 realms. There's like an old scooter there. It cuts back to Thor. Thor's still doing the battle. It cuts back to Scourge at the Bifrost gate, and he is using a shake weight.
Yeah, got a laugh out of the audience I was watching with.
Right. The moment that he was stood there using that shake weight, Dave, that was the moment I knew that for me, this film was in trouble.
Really, I just thought it was a little throwaway thing, you know.
It was. Oh man, when I saw him standing there with that shake weight, I was just like, "What have I just seen?" But you disagree. That's fair enough. Everyone's got their own opinions.
Well, you know, I think that's one of those things. If you hark back to a first movie, it's the difference between Asgardian and human culture. You know, first movie, one of the, you know, you either like it or you don't. You know, Thor walks into a pet shop and is like, get me. I want a horse. And he's like, we don't do those. He's like, well, what do you do? It's like, we have dogs. But get me one big enough to ride. And it's like, it gets a laugh from me every time I watch it. And
yeah, but that's funny, Dave. Watching Carl Urban stood there, because, right, from that teaser trailer, we were given the impression that Carl Urban's Scourge was an absolute badass, right? So if you remember that teaser trailer, one of the shots we see of him is firing the 2 machine guns, killing people, right?
Right.
So he looks like a badass. From the very moment he appears in this film, he just looks like an absolute moron.
Okay, I tell you what. Can we, at this early stage, can we just say, because there's something I agree with you here, the whole story arc of Scourge, I don't feel like Scourge was needed. I feel like they could have had another character, maybe even Loki, in the place of Scourge. Or just not even had Scourge. Because I like Carl Urban as an actor. He's a good actor. There's not much he's done that I haven't enjoyed. And I think Scourge was one of the weakest points of this film.
Okay, fair enough. So if we move on the plot, right? Thor gets back to Asgard with the Surtur skull, and he uncovers Loki's masquerade as Odin. He forces Loki to show everyone that he's Loki. The 2 of them go off to find Odin.
Oh, hang on. You're missing out for a decent cameo here.
Yeah, no, what I'm trying to do, Dave, is skip over a god-awful cameo.
Okay, alright, fair enough.
But, no, go ahead, you brought it up now, so you can...
Okay, my kids found it highly amusing because they recognised him, but obviously when Thor gets back to Asgard, in the guise of Odin, obviously Loki is led back, being fed grapes, and they're putting on a wonderful show of the climactic death of Loki in Thor: The Dark World. Are 2 Asgardian actors performing the death of Loki, and of course Loki is played by none other than Matt Damon in the most cheesy way. And I tell you what, I thought, okay, I wasn't too worried about the cameo by Matt Damon, but I liked the fact that it kind of, even at this early stage, it was almost mocking the previous film, kind of setting itself apart, because even Thor: The Dark World and Thor Ragnarok, 2 completely separate films in tone and content, and Thor: The Dark World was dramatic and melodramatic, whereas Ragnarok, yeah, as we'll get to, it's got a completely different tone, isn't it? I like the way it set itself apart so early.
Well, you and me will disagree on that, but we'll get to that as we're going ahead. So the 2 brothers go off to find Odin, and this leads to a Doctor Strange cameo. And it was at this point again where I just knew that this film was going to really struggle to win me back round. Because during the scene with Thor at Doctor Strange's Sanctum Sanctorum, it was just every time he like fell over or he bumped into something, I'm like, am I watching a superhero movie or am I watching something by the Three Stooges?
Yeah, Thor's like that, isn't he? He's a bit daft. He's a bit clumsy.
Yeah, but they took the characterization from the previous two films, and I agree with you. There were moments in the first two films that were genuinely funny. The pet shop thing that you mentioned there, when the other characters were trying to lift his hammer in the Avengers, those little funny moments on their own, great. When the entire film, as we're going to get to as we discuss the rest of the plot, is just one ridiculous gag after another, it pissed me off, Dave.
Okay, fair enough.
Right?
What can I say? I enjoyed it.
Yeah. So we have this scene where Thor keeps falling over or bumping into stuff, and Doctor Strange sends him off to where Odin is. And this, as you briefly touched upon, this leads to the very abrupt death of Odin.
It was abrupt, wasn't it? I think at the end of Thor: The Dark World, I thought this whole film would basically be about the search for Odin. Why had Odin gone missing? What had Loki done with him? But you're very quickly told, aren't you, that Odin suggests, "Oh yes, it took me a while to get over to shake myself free of the spell," and then he kind of suggests that he's kind of dying. And he mentions a sister, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Who is, of course, he mentions a sister briefly, which we then find out very quickly is Hela, just as he disappears. And I wasn't quite sure how to feel about the death of Odin because he turned into glitter and faded away quite quickly, but I was quite glad that had been dealt with already, that the film could move on from there.
Yeah, so as you said, Odin dies, Hela shows up, rather conveniently, just at that moment. And here was another thing that irritated me about this film. Going back to that teaser, the moment in that teaser trailer, the one that gets everyone, and still gets me today when I watch it, and you just go, that is amazing, is the bit where Thor throws his hammer, Hela stops it, and then it destroys it, right?
Right.
Now, in the teaser trailer, they've got that scene backdropped to like a sort of city landscape, and it looks like that's taking place in the middle of some huge battle.
Yeah, right. That did puzzle me. It did look like it was somewhere else.
Right. Whereas here, it's just in a big green field, and there is no battle because Thor just throws his hammer, she catches it, smashes it, and then Thor and Loki try and leg it. So one of the pivotal moments in that teaser trailer that really hooked me in for this film was completely and utterly wasted in the actual film, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I have noticed a habit of this in a few films, where something that makes it into a teaser trailer doesn't happen in the film. Do you notice, was it Spider-Man Homecoming? The scene with Spider-Man and Iron Man flying side by side through the city?
Yeah.
Not in a movie, is it?
Nope.
It's not a movie. And there's even Star Wars, Rogue One. There's a scene with I forget the name of the character, Jyn Erso, and a huge AT-AT or something like that. I think it's a consequence of so much being shot for the film and a lot disappearing in editing. And I don't think it's done on purpose. I think it's just one of those things where, even I read last week that the director said that they tried several different cuts of the film, and of course lots of them can be very different, and it's not done on purpose to purposely remove a scene or to deceive people. It's just they've made a cut of the film that they feel works.
Well, for me, yeah, go on.
Interesting that I'd like to see a different version of Suicide Squad myself. I'd like to see the version of Suicide Squad that was supposed to be darker and longer. Don't know if we'll ever get it. But,
No.
you know, who knows?
Or the proper version of Fantastic Four that apparently Josh Trank reckons he made.
He's never going to get that out, let's be honest.
Yeah. So
if he ever works in Hollywood again, I'd be amazed.
Well, he's more likely to work than Harvey Weinstein.
Yeah, let's not go there.
No. So, skipping forward in the plot, Thor and Loki try and escape on the Bifrost. Hela goes with them. She kicks them both out of the Bifrost. She ends up on Asgard, and Thor and Loki end up on Sakaar. Right? So this is where the film sort of breaks down into sort of two separate plot points. So let's follow the Hela one to start with. So Hela's obviously on Asgard now. She basically... What is it as well with Hela, right? Kate Blanchett, great actress, right?
Can I just say one thing about Kate Blanchett as well? One thing my lovely wife pointed out. Kate Blanchett, she doesn't age. It's just incredible. It's like 10 years ago, 10, 15 years ago, filming Lord of the Rings, she was young, she was beautiful, she was radiant, and, okay, she's a different character now, but she still looks pretty young, let's be honest.
Well, yeah, there might be some CGI going there, but anyway, allegedly. So, a couple of things about Hela, right? Number one, I don't think she was the main villain in this. Well, she wasn't the big bad villain in this film that the trailer portrayed her to be.
She was pretty bad, let's face it. She was a big threat. Right. You might not say she's a big villain, but she was a big threat.
And number two, what was that with that stupid running her fingers over her head to bring her horns out every time?
That was a bit weird, because obviously in the comics, she has got that big kind of antlerish head. But then this is where they've changed it for the comics a bit, haven't they? Because as far as I remember, Hela is never actually described as being Loki and Thor's sister. As far as I remember. I think it's more she's a different character from a different realm. So they've kind of tweaked that a little bit to make it more relevant.
That's got nothing to do with her rubbing her head, though.
Well, it's just part of the magic, isn't it? It's like the way
it's Loki... all a part of the magic.
It is. It's the same way Loki can kind of, he'll be on halfway through Avengers. You know, he's in a field. He kind of does a thing with his hammer, and suddenly he's got the full body armor. You know, his arms are covered in chainmail. And it's like, it's just part of the Asgardian thing. It's, the same as hammers no one can lift up. It's just part of their magic.
Okay, so anyway, on Asgard, she kills the entire Asgardian army. She then wants to go and conquer all the 9 realms, but finds that she can't because the sword is missing from the Bifrost.
Okay.
Can I just say, Dave, we are jumping sort of ahead of ourselves here. We will go back, but we're just following one plot point at a time.
Okay, but how do you feel... Before she even killed the army, she pops out the Bifrost and is like, okay, warriors free, dead. 3 characters who have both been in the first 2 films, not huge characters, but they are the only other Asgardians we really know the names of. And they're just dispatched really quickly. How do you feel about that?
To be honest, that part I didn't even really like that, to be honest, Dave.
Okay, fair enough. I mean...
Were you bothered, were you?
I wasn't... I just thought, okay, yeah, it shows that, she's a threat. She killed those 3, and let's face it, she kills the Asgardian army really quickly.
In a CGI mess.
Yeah, the CGI there was a little bit ropey, I have to say. Reminded me of a certain Mr. Agent Smith. And the Matrix going back a few years, there's just a point where you look at it and say, yeah, that CGI is just not up to scratch.
So anyway, she kills the entire Asgardian army, the sword is missing from the Bifrost, and we discover that Heimdall is alive and he's got it, and he's hiding the remaining Asgardian folks, trying to protect them from her, right? So she wants to go and find the sword, so she raises up like an army of the dead, and that's what's happening on Asgard, right? Well, while all that's going on Asgard, back on Sakaar, where Thor and Loki have landed, we follow Thor, and he is captured by Scrapper 142, I think her name. Was it 147?
142, 147, something like that.
Yeah,
isn't it?
something like that. Played by Tessa Thompson.
I think that was her name. Yeah.
Yeah. Who, for some reason, I want to say that she was in Misfits.
I'd have to believe you there. I wouldn't be sure.
But I might be completely wrong. She was definitely in some British show. Maybe it was she in Doctor Who?
I don't remember in Doctor Who at all, but I think she's a British actress, isn't she? So.
Right. So anyway, she captures him and she takes him to the Grand Master, played by Jeff Goldblum. That's someone we can definitely say we know him from. What did you think of the Grand Master? Because I like Jeff Goldblum, right? Obviously, he's been in Jurassic Park, he's been in Independence Day, he's been in one of my guilty pleasures, Earth Goes Easy. But I wasn't that keen on him here.
I wasn't keen on him either. I would have rather seen Benicio del Toro again as the Collector. And there's no mention here. I would have liked to have seen a reference to the fact that those two characters are connected. But you don't get any reference to that, do you? And I thought he did play it a bit hammy, but I could see what they're trying to do, because he comes across as just a dictator. He's a dictator who's very comfortable with the power he's got. He's not actually physically powerful himself. He's just in charge. But I don't feel like we got enough of him, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So he's playing a sort of very quirky Jeff Goldblum-y type character, really. It's almost like they've written a character like that for him.
It is, isn't it? Though, I just feel like they could have done more with him.
Right. Tessa Thompson was in Veronica Mars. She was also in Heroes, and she was in Westworld.
Westworld. Oh, well, I've seen Heroes. I don't remember her in it, but I haven't seen any of the rest of her stuff.
In Heroes, she played... I can find it again now. Heroes, she played Rebecca Taylor. Whoever that was.
Well, I don't remember her as that at all.
No.
Maybe she was in the new episodes, which I didn't watch.
So Thor is basically captured. He's given to the Grand Master. He's going to become a gladiator. And cue the Stan Lee obligatory cameo where he's playing the barber who's going to cut Thor's hair.
Yeah, I like the fact they didn't do anything too ridiculous with this. Yeah, it was a tiny little scene and kind of almost made for Stan Lee, I guess. And just to see, because you didn't have to see Thor getting his hair cut, did you?
No. So he gets his hair cut. Now, here comes my next problem with this film, Dave. Right?
Oh.
Yeah, another one. So Thor gets put into sort of like the garrison, I guess you could call it, where they keep the gladiators until they put them into battle, right?
Okay.
And it is here that we are introduced to the character of Korg, right? We're also introduced to Meek, although Meek doesn't really do anything. Now, if you go into this film having no idea about the history of those two characters, I could understand that Korg might be quite entertaining, right?
Okay.
If you go into this film, and I've spoken to fellow comic book fans who feel the same as me, and you have read Planet Hulk, and you have read World War Hulk, right? And we're not going to go into the plots of those, but Korg is a big character in that. And in those comic books, Korg plays sort of the conscience of the Hulk. He tries to like talk him down out of his rage sometimes.
Okay.
Right? In this film, they have taken that pivotal character, and I know we're not doing a film of World War Hulk or Planet Hulk, but they've taken a recognisable character to comic book fans and basically pissed all over him.
Okay, I agree with you there, but I don't think he's one of comic books' untouchables. You know, I think because we're not going to get that film of Planet Hulk, no matter how much we like it, we could have an animated version, that could be great, but we're not going to get that solo movie of Planet Hulk or World War Hulk. We might get a little version of World War Hulk in another movie, and of course, that's a movie rights issue as well, between Marvel and Paramount, is it, I think? But I think there's certain characters that are kind of untouchables. Like if you took Batman Like the Fantastic Four did with their Doctor Doom and their Mr. Fantastic and their Thing and their Invisible Woman. You take these characters and you do something completely different and ridiculous to their true nature. That fans will look at that and go, no, that's not right. If you take a woman and done something completely different with her, if you'd made her some kind of blogger or some kind of pop star, fans would rightfully be pissed off. But I think Korg, he's just not one of those characters for me. I know he was important in Planet Hulk, but I don't know, there's just a lot of characters that if you do something too different from the comics, with Thor or Loki or even Heimdall, I'm not that bothered, to be honest. If you do something different with them, I'm really bothered. That's why when I watched Gotham originally, I watched Gotham, first episode, I saw it and I was like, hang on, this isn't right. No, it's not for me. It might be good now, I don't know. But for Korg, he's just not one of those characters, and I couldn't care less about him. I thought he was good for what they did with him in this. But, fans of Planet Hulk, I'm sorry, you're not going to get that movie.
No, I'm not saying I want that movie, but he was put in there as a comic foil in a film that's full of comedy. It wasn't needed.
I would agree with that, but then it's what do you do with his character?
Why do you need his character?
Because obviously what they've done with his character is later on in the movie he becomes kind of a figure of the revolution, doesn't he?
Yeah, but you could have had just Gladiator 347 or whatever. It didn't have to be a recognisable character that was going to piss people off.
I agree with that, but if people are pissed off about a character like Korg, who's not really that important in the end of the day, and he hasn't been, it's not like he's got his own comic series, it's not like he's got 50 years of history. I think people need to kind of, have a look at their life, really.
Well, I'm one of those people, Dave, so tread carefully.
Okay, sorry, Stu.
So, skipping over that, we get to the big battle, which, of course, we see the beginning of in the teaser trailer, and Thor is going to battle Hulk. We get the line from the trailer that everybody loved. We know each other, he's a friend from work. And they have a big battle. So, sort of encompassing the entire battle into sort of a brief synopsis, what did you think of it?
I loved it, if I'm being honest. I thought it was a great little battle, it was a great little fight, had a great little bit of talking. I like the fact that Loki, as soon as he saw Hulk, was kind of like, oh my god, I'll get off this planet.
See, now, you mentioned that bit there. That is the sort of humour, which goes back to that original thing you said about get me a dog that's big enough to ride. That is the sort of humour that I don't mind in this film, because I'm with you there. Loki's reaction to that fight, initially being scared, and then, when Hulk does the, puny god bit with Thor, he goes, ha, that's how it feels. That was great. It was just all the rest of the Three Stooges comedy that I didn't need.
Okay, I can see the difference there, but Loki, you had to have Loki having some kind of reaction there, didn't you? If you didn't see any kind of reaction from Loki, you'd think, well, what does Loki think of Hulk being there? Because Loki knows Hulk. But overall as a fight, I think it wasn't too long. I think you got enough of Thor beating on Hulk, you got enough of Hulk beating on Thor, and would you say there's a clear winner?
Well, it's a bit like the Freddy vs. Jason. You ever seen Freddy vs. Jason?
Yeah, a long time ago.
Yeah. If you remember the end of that film, Jason comes out of the lake and he's holding Freddy's head. So it looks like Jason's won, but the film closes with Freddy's head winking at camera, laughing. So it's like, Freddy's not dead, there's no real discernible winner. In this film, Thor Ragnarok, obviously it looks like Thor is about to finish off Hulk and Grandmaster cheats. So Hulk basically gets the win. But did he really win? Was there ever really going to be a winner? Because we don't know. Would Thor's ultimate sort of Super Saiyan lightning punch have done the job? You just don't know.
Yeah, because this is put a bit of growth for Thor within the movie, isn't it? He's rediscovering his powers.
Yeah.
Or discovering his powers without his hammer.
So anyway, the battle finishes. The Hulk wins, in inverted commas. And this takes us to Hulk's dressing room. Now, a couple of things here. Number one, we didn't need naked Hulk.
Yeah, I'd kind of go with you there. That was maybe that was a step too far.
And number two, oh my God, Hulk talk far too much.
No, I kind of like this because it's Hulk evolving. And
Yeah, but he's gone from not saying anything to basically being Roger Goff.
Okay, but also, can we say Hulk's been on this planet for 2 years as the Hulk? So, is it any wonder that he can talk, or he's got the personality now of a toddler, or whatever?
And that there, what you just said there about his personality of a toddler, leads me to another thing that really irritated me, and it's going back to my Three Stooges type comedy, in that Valkyrie, who Tessa Thompson, she's now known as Valkyrie because earlier on we discovered that she was the last of the Valkyries. She's got a personal issue with Hela because Hela destroyed all the Valkyries. Again, that was a shot in the trailer that was only a very brief moment in the film.
Yeah, it's only a brief moment because she's having a flashback, isn't she, to when Odin originally sent all the Valkyries to try and kill Hela.
Yeah, so she's there and she's decided she's going to help Thor and Hulk escape, although Hulk doesn't really want to escape. And Hulk has been playing with this big rubber ball that he's been sort of bouncing against the wall, a bit like Steve McQueen in, what's that prison film? The Great Escape. Yeah. Thor takes the ball, chucks it against the window to break it, it bounces back, smacks him in the face. That was just crap. But I bet you laughed.
I thought it was funny. I laughed a little bit, but yeah, I could easily do without it. It's one of those things where, like, okay, I can do without it. You know.
Another thing about this escape thing, right, is they realise they have to escape through this giant portal, right? Now I looked this up, and I might be wrong, so you can correct me if I'm wrong. But I did some investigation into this, and that portal that they escape through in the comic books is known as the Great Portal.
Okay.
Right. So why in the film do they have to give it the name the Devil's Anus?
That was a bit ridiculous, I have to say. I mean, for a film that's, what was it, 12A? And something like that, we know there's going to be a lot of kids seeing it. We know there's going to be a lot of teenagers seeing it. We know there's going to be a lot of younger kids seeing it. Do we really have to hear the words anus?
But why do they have to call it the Devil's Anus other than for, like, Devil's Anus? It's a Beavis and Butt joke.
It is, and that was one joke I felt we didn't need.
Right. So Hulk calms down because they're on the Quinjet that Hulk escaped from at the end of Age of Ultron.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah.
And, well, he calms down because he sees the message from Black Widow again, doesn't he? Of, hey, guy, hey, big guy, you got to turn around.
Yeah, so that calms him down. He becomes Bruce Banner, and then the three of them basically escape on the ship. There is a bit of a chase with the Grandmaster's ships chasing them and shooting at them. It was alright, nothing particularly special about that battle.
I'd say, yeah, there was nothing special about it. The thing I really enjoyed here was seeing Mark Ruffalo as Bruce Banner again. I also liked the way Mark Ruffalo played off Chris Hemsworth. I thought it was very much, again, like two old buddies getting together. I like the fact that Mark Ruffalo plays Bruce Banner as being clearly completely freaked out. And I do like the fact that they've kind of gone very much into the lines of previously in the MCU, the Bruce Banner we've had just been okay, I changed into the Hulk, and it's basically me just really, really angry and out of control. But now they changed it again to say, okay, but now for the last 2 years, it's felt like I've been locked in the boot and the Hulk's been driving the car. So now they have turned him into two separate personalities again, which I like. Because obviously in the comics, you get a lot of that, don't you? Get the fact that Hulk really doesn't like Bruce Banner for keeping him in check all the time, just as Bruce Banner resents the Hulk for making him into the world's most dangerous weapon. So again, it's Hulk evolving, and I like that. You've had a tiny bit of that in previous movies, like Eric Banner's Hulk, but I like the fact that they've evolved him a little bit. That Mark Ruffalo, that Bruce Banner isn't as much in control as he would like. Because that's the Hulk, really, isn't it? It's about losing control.
Right. So they get, the three of them, Valkyrie, Bruce Banner, and Thor, they go back to Asgard on one jet. Loki and the Gladiators, led by Korg, they get back to Asgard on another jet, which leads us basically to the climactic battle. So Thor goes off to battle Hela, his sister, whilst Bruce Banner hulks up and he fights like Hela's giant demon dog. And
not just a giant demon dog, that's Fenris. That's like a proper world-eating wolf, who, by the way, in proper Nordic legend, is Loki's child.
Okay, fair enough. That makes
if
zero
you didn't
sense.
know that, in proper Nordic legend, Loki has several children. He even has a child with a horse. Bizarrely.
Right. Okay. So
I'm not going to say how he had the horse child, but if you're interested in Nordic legend, just read it. Find out about Loki shagging a horse. That's what
sounds like an episode of Jerry Springer to me.
It's a very complicated episode of Jerry Springer.
Yeah. And speaking of Loki, he gets there with Korg and the Gladiators. Heimdall turns up with the rest of the Asgardians. So they're battling the army of the dead, whilst trying to get the Asgardian civilians onto the ship to escape, basically. And at this point, we get Surge being a coward, trying to hide, make his escape, but then getting his redemption by deciding to fight back, which gives us the shot of him firing the two machine guns before he, spoiler alert, because obviously this is an entire spoiler thing, dies.
He does die, doesn't he? He does die very quickly, but even, did you not completely geek out though? I completely love the fact then when, because Thor is fighting with Hela, isn't he? And he realizes, he's got her held down, and you get that scene from the trailer again with Hela saying, "What were you the god of again?" And he kind of flashes back, doesn't he, to his kind of vision in his head of him talking to his dad. And of course, Odin says, "Well, what are you the god of? You the god of hammers? You're the god of thunder. The hammer was only ever for you to try and control your powers." And then Thor just completely thunders out, doesn't he? Has the god of all lightning bolts. And I just love the part. Thor gets down on the Bifrost again. He's totally using his lightning powers. Led Zeppelin starts playing again.
Yeah, can I stop you there though? Why did they feel the need to use that song again?
I liked it.
Yeah, but why use it twice?
I don't know why you used it twice. I think maybe you could have just used it then and not at the start. I think maybe you could have had a different song at the start. But for me, this bit, the action was really beautiful and clear. The CGI was fantastic. There was a great sense of I mean, he's the god of thunder, and yet somehow we felt as if throughout the whole film we felt he's kind of like the underdog. I don't know why. As if this is part of the magic of this film. It's like a Superman film. Even though Superman is fundamentally unkillable, it's how do you get some kind of threat throughout the film? And I thought Hela delivered that threat, and Thor was finding his character again. He had to get back to Asgard to save Asgard. And this bit where, towards the end of the film, where he was fighting with his lightning powers, where Hulk had hulked out, and it was just an awesome fight on the bridge. I felt, and the music just totally complemented it. I was just like, "This is awesome! This is awesome!" If I was in a WWE audience, I'd be shouting, "This is awesome! This is awesome!"
You forgot to point out there as well that Thor ends up blinded in one eye.
He does, and I love that. because again, that's a great reference to the comics that in Thor's future he becomes King Thor. He's lost an eye just like his dad, and he's the king. And I liked that. It's changing his character. I feel anything in these movies that can have the characters evolve over time and show they're not completely invulnerable is a good thing.
Right, now this brings us to the climax, the sort of climax of the film, which confused me a bit, Dave. So maybe you can explain this to me. In that they're battling, the Asgardians are on the ship, they escape. Thor's taking sort of like a last stand against Hela. He realizes that he can't defeat her, so he gets Loki to use the Eternal Flame to resurrect Surtur, which he knows is going to bring about Ragnarok. Now, I was under the impression, and it's even sort of hinted at earlier in the film before Odin becomes a glitter cloud, that he says Hela is coming, she's going to bring about Ragnarok. But then by the end of the film, we realise that she's not going to bring about Ragnarok, Surtur is.
Okay, well, maybe that's just a bit of confusion apart, but, she does kind of bring back Ragnarok, and I think this is part of the Viking Norse legend, really, that, obviously, a lot of Western legends, we've, even in the Bible, we've got, okay, apocalypse is going to come, Armageddon's going to come, it's going to be the end of everything, but there's going to be a great paradise afterwards. But Viking legends, Ragnarok is literally, because the gods are flawed, they will bring about their own destruction, and Asgard and Earth will be destroyed. So Ragnarok is literally the end of Asgard. It's and it's unavoidable, and that's what Thor realizes, doesn't it? As Surtur says at the start, you have to embrace it. Why don't you just embrace it? Because it's going to happen anyway.
Well, technically, Thor brings about Ragnarok.
Well, technically, yeah. Technically, you could say Loki brought about Ragnarok, because if he hadn't bewitched Odin, Odin would have still been strong and on Asgard, so Hela would never have escaped. So, who was it? Potato?
So, anyway, they basically fly off, they leg it from Asgard, they watch it being destroyed as Hela and Surtur basically blow the place up and kill each other, we're assuming. Don't know, they could appear sometime in the future. They're flying off into space, where Thor is made king, and then they say that they're going to go to Earth to set up a new Asgard.
Yeah, do they say they're going to set up a new Asgard? Because, well, look, Thor realises, doesn't he, that Asgard isn't just a place, it's his people, and they come, by the end of the film, they're saying, okay, you saved Asgard, you saved our species. And again, I just want to rewind quickly, because when Thor grabs Surtur's skull to put into the Eternal Flame, he's in the vault of Asgard, isn't he?
Yeah.
And what does he walk past?
The Cosmic Cube thing? The Tesseract?
Yeah, the Tesseract, yeah, which is, of course, an Infinity Stone, isn't it? Do we have any doubt that Loki has stuffed the Tesseract down his pants?
Yeah, he might just be pleased to see them.
Oh, yeah, he's just been to see them. He's got an Infinity Stone in his pocket. But, yeah, I mean, this kind of takes me back as well. It kind of comes full circle, doesn't it? Because, as you've just said, they're heading towards Earth to set up a new Asgard, or because they know Thor says they're going to be welcome there. But what happens in the post-credit scene?
Obviously, the credit scene that you're referring to, do you want to tell us what happens in it?
Well, they're just flying along, aren't they? And Thor and Loki look up, and there's a huge, giant spaceship which lows down in front of them, isn't there? Which, I don't know about you, but I'm assuming that's Thanos.
Yeah. So the vibe there is that that's Thanos, because that is going to lead into the footage that was shown at a convention earlier this year. I don't know if you heard about that from the beginning of Infinity War?
I didn't actually know.
No, so they showed like the first 3 or 4 minutes of Infinity War to the crowd at this convention, and what they showed was Thor, his lifeless body, floating around in space, and he's picked up by the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Ah, cool.
So the inference there would, of course, be that it's Thanos' ship at the end of Thor Ragnarok, and Thor's ship gets destroyed. So what happens to the Asgardians? Are they all wiped out? Just don't know. Does Loki make a deal with Thanos and go off with him? Probably. And yeah, go on.
Really, the last time Thanos saw Loki, Thanos sent Loki to Earth with the Tesseract, didn't he?
Yeah.
So really, I think Thanos is going to be wanting a bit of a conversation with Loki as to, because you don't just fail Thanos, do you? I mean, he's not the kind of boss who kind of likes it when you don't do well.
And it also, of course, if that is Thanos' ship and it does lead into the events of the beginning of Infinity War, where is Hulk and where are the gladiators?
Yeah, that's a very good question, isn't it? Because we don't really see a lot of Hulk or Bruce Banner after they've gone onto the ship and heading towards Earth, do we? I would have liked to never seen just with Bruce Banner, just to have, has Bruce Banner gone back to being Hulk? Because they make a big conversation of it, don't they? It's like Bruce Banner saying, well, look, I've got the feeling that if I change back to Hulk, I'm never going to be able to change back to Bruce Banner again. And
but
yet...
the last time we see him, he is Hulk, isn't he?
Yeah, so what's going on there? Are we going to see Bruce Banner again? I don't know. I'd certainly be a bit annoyed if we don't see Mark Ruffalo as Bruce Banner again, because I'm really enjoying him play the character. And I have heard the producers say that he's going to have a distinct... that the Hulk is going to have a distinct arc across the next 3 Marvel films. So, are we going to? Who knows? Are we going to get World War Hulk as part of Infinity War? We'll have to wait and see.
And there is, of course, a post-credit scene, which is kind of a throwaway thing with the Grandmaster.
Yeah, I kind of thought again. It's like, okay, so we saw what happened to Grandmaster. Whoopsie-doo. I would have preferred to see. I don't know what I would have preferred to see. Maybe just a hint that Odin's still alive out there somewhere. Something else.
So, this film, Thor Ragnarok, is the 17th movie of the MCU. It's the 5th movie of the Phase 3. It's taken $109 million so far worldwide and has a 95% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. I did a written review of this on our Facebook page and I gave it 5 out of 10, which is obviously my reasons for that have been, I've been very vocal about them throughout this review. So what would you give it?
I'd give it actually, I'd give it 8.5 to 9 out of 10. So I'd say maybe 8.75 because I've got little niggles with it. I'd say, like I said earlier on, I could have done without the character of Scourge. I didn't feel like he was a strong enough character. Okay, so he had an arc, but I would have preferred maybe you could have taken Loki and put him in that role instead, because I don't actually feel that Loki had a strong enough arc in this film. I mean, Loki was the main villain in Avengers Assemble. He's been the main villain in both Thor, really, and I just feel like he didn't have enough to do in this movie apart from just trying to survive. But also, like I said, there was a lot of humour in this. I know you didn't like it, but I feel like they could have toned down just a little bit on the humour. Just a teeny bit and gotten rid of 1 or 2 of the gags.
I think they could have got rid of half the humour in this film, to be honest. But we are going to agree to disagree. So,
half humour, but that's Marvel at the moment, isn't it? They're clearly going out. Are they going out their way to have far too much humour?
Yeah, but this film has got so much humour in it. I would argue it makes Guardians of the Galaxy look like Jacob's Ladder.
Ooh, wow, that's going some.
Yeah.
That's a bleak movie, man.
Yeah. So, that's the point I'm trying to make. And funnily enough, my friend Pavo from Pavo and Neil at Pancast Productions. He is the polar opposite of me, whereas I see the glass as half empty, he always sees it as half full, and he loves everything Marvel does, right? But he came out of this film not liking it. I wouldn't go so far as to say he hated it. I haven't spoken to him directly, so I wouldn't know his actual feelings about it, but one of the posts that he put was hashtag Ragnarok.
Oh, okay.
So this film is going to polarise fans of the genre, I think. Generally, for instance, my kids and my wife, if they were to watch it, they haven't seen it yet, I think they would love it, right? And there are fans of comic books like yourself who are going to love it, but there are going to be there's going to be people that are completely against it, like me, and there's going to be people that love everything that Marvel have done before that aren't necessarily a fan of this film.
Okay, but arguing it like this as well, I kind of feel like for a lot of films like this, I try and like them for what they are, not what they're not. So even going back to something like Man of Steel, it wasn't the Superman that I wanted, but I liked it for what it was. And it had its problems, and I don't feel like they sorted out those problems for by the time they got to Batman versus Superman. But for Thor Ragnarok, I think they need to make sure that they're keeping casual fans happy as well. So, let's be honest, there's going to be a lot of people that get dragged along to this film or just turn up to see it, and they don't know too much about Infinity War. They're not too bothered about what the Infinity Gems are. They might not even really know that Infinity War is coming out next year. But they're going to watch it, they're going to enjoy it, and they're going to understand Thor's arc across the last couple of films and leading into Infinity War. So it is one of those things you need to make sure that the casual fan really enjoys it as well and have enough there to make people like me and you happy. And I wish they'd toned down a little bit on the humour, but from what I hear from the director, they did try several cuts of this film, and I would have liked to see one with a tiny bit less. If they say this was the cut that works best, then I kind of trust them on that.
Okay, well, that was our review of Thor Ragnarok. It went on slightly longer than I was anticipating, but then it tends to when we get going. But there you go. So I reckon, Dave, that the next film that we should probably give this treatment to would be...
Well, Stu, I have to say, Paddington is out later on this week. Paddington 2. So, if our fans want to hear us review Paddington 2, I'm not one to argue.
I was actually thinking more along the lines of another certain film, team-up film, shall we say.
A team-up film?
Yes.
I can't imagine. What team-up film is coming out soon? I've got no idea.
Well, it's Justice League, Dave.
Okay, Justice League.
Yeah, and as much as neither of us really wants to, I think we're going to have to watch it.
I am going to watch it. I'm going to take my oldest boy to see it, because my youngest doesn't want to see it. Can I just say, that's what DC have done. My youngest child has been so turned off by Suicide Squad and Batman vs Superman, he doesn't want to see it. How bad is that?
So,
he's meant to be an audience.
Yeah, so we will, in a week or so, we'll be back with another one of these, and we will have a look at the Justice League. Because, frankly, we do these things so you don't have to.
Exactly. Well, yeah, to be honest, at this point, I've enjoyed the trailers, but judging on the last couple of DC films, we might just be taking a bullet for everyone else.
So, until then, thank you very much.
I've forgotten what I'm supposed to say. Always fun, always welcome.
And until next time, keep it geek.